Greeting, dear friends. It's lovely to be with you. And I thank God that His presence is with us every day. So for the beginning of this Lenten time, I decided I wanted to find something to do. I was looking for a book that maybe would give me some thoughts to reflect on Lent, or a devotional that would just help to guide me. Something to deepen this journey of Lent for myself. So I went to my bookcase, and I'm afraid I do buy quite a few books that I don't read, and I've got a small section on Lent. There'll be a book in here for me. Well, I pulled out the book. The cover promised me that this would give me a closer walk to God. And so with fervour, I arrived home with my book. The first evening, read the intro, got a bit of an idea of what it was about, began to have a look. I even took out a new book that I could use maybe as a journal or to jot down some thoughts and some ideas. Well, in the introduction to the book, the author spoke a little bit about the journey. But the author too clearly communicated that if a reader wanted to use this book, at least 1 hour, 60 minutes needs to be given per day. There was a breakdown of how long you had to pray for, how long you had to read the Bible for, how long you had to write for. I found those helpful until I came to the sentence where it was subtly expressed that if I don't do this properly, I will not receive the benefit of this book. And the hidden message really was saying, I wouldn't have a closer walk with God. I have to admit that all my spiritual guilt or complexes came rushing up to the fore. I'm obviously not good enough if I can't commit myself that for the 6 weeks of Lent, I will add an extra hour into each day. And yet I knew the reality of where I am at the moment, what things are happening, that actually was a false commitment, one that was going to let me down. For the reality is that there are some days that I can spend ages reflecting, praying, reading, listening to Christian music. And yet there are other days that I really struggle and I have to push myself. And then I started thinking, well, you're obviously not a good enough Christian, Peter. And then when I thought about sharing it on this video with you, I also went into a bit of a tailspin. What happens when the minister says that he also battles to maybe give that commitment? And I was reminded of the words of Jesus, that when you pray, take yourself off to your room, that this is a private moment and a private function. And yes, there are moments when we need to pray together. We need to pray with somebody. But I think sometimes there's this huge spiritual gift that if we don't do it, if you're not committing an hour every day, you're not spiritually good enough. Look, make no mistake, we need discipline. And sometimes we need to force ourselves. But I think far too many Christians have felt that they're not adequate enough. I know that there are times, often when I'm driving in my car and I've got 3/4 an hour in a journey, that I use that. I listen to some Christian music, or I reflect on something, prepare a sermon once or twice. But the reality being is that each one of us finds Christ in our own individual way. There is no set formula. I have to admit, well, the book's been passed on. And I went back to my trusty supplier and got another one that gave me a bit more openness, where I felt comfortable. And so, friends, never be put down by spiritual guilt. Never think you're not good enough to God. Never think the way that you speak to God is not good enough. Or sometimes it's our utterances, or even the moments when we feel we can no longer pray, that we're carried in God's presence. I think the bottom line would be that we're authentic and that we're honest, and we come to God just the way we are. Some days it's great, other days not so great. Yes, push ourselves, but yes, acknowledge that all our utterances are received in heaven, and that God loves it when we turn to God in whatever way we find appropriate. And so take care, and God bless.